All right, for today's video, we're going to finally be taking a look at another new figure on the channel. This is Studio Series 86 Scrapheap. Would you believe that this is only the second new figure that I've gotten this year? That is being, figures that actually came out in 2024. Like, I got Medics earlier in the year, but he was around in 2023, and technically most of the first wave of Legacy United I actually got at the tail end of 2023. So, this is after Tigerhawk, this is only the second new figure that I've actually gotten this year. Everything else has either come out in previous years or is just a straight up older figure. But obviously he's still a retool of the Studio Series Junkion mold, but so he's not new, but he's got a pretty decent amount of new stuff to him. But he's got a really surprising amount of retooling, even more so than Junkyard did from the Wreck-Gar mold. But he looks pretty cool in his new motorcycle mode. Weirdly enough, he's the only one of the three that doesn't technically cheat in terms of having the top of his head become the windshield. Like, this actually is the top of his robot mode head. That being said, it does make it look like a little bit tiny and ridiculous, like as a windshield, but it was kind of ridiculous on the other ones anyway, just because when you have a Voyager riding a Voyager sized motorcycle, like their heads were like way up here, so even the windshields on the other ones didn't make a ton of sense anyway. But I like the new look of his alt mode here. The front end, weird, it like reminds me of like a duck, with like this being the beak and the headlights there being the eyes. I just can't unsee that, so sorry if you didn't see that and now you also can't unsee that, but misery loves company. But pretty good motorcycle mode, just like the other versions of this mold. It's different, but it still has the overall general shape. He comes with this one gun as an accessory. He doesn't come with the same pinwheel weapon that Wreck-Gar and Junkyard did. In terms of storage, you can just peg it onto the side here, which I feel like looks okay. It's small enough that it doesn't really, get in the way. It does kind of cover up some of this new exhaust pipe detailing, and unfortunately we'll get into this later, but it really has nowhere to store in robot mode at all, which kind of sucks, but whatever. It's still a pretty good bike mode. He's got the little kickstands under here, though they are tooled quite differently because his legs actually do they rotate around 180 degrees for transformation, so the bottom of his feet actually tap into the shoulders rather than the top of his feet like the other two. So now these are on the front of his legs instead of the back of his legs in robot mode, but you can still fold these up and kind of roll them around. It still has the kind of clicky wheels there. It's the same wheels as the other two, just a lot of other new tooling there. In terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe, who I'd like to say the scale doesn't make any sense here, but technically it does, because canonically the Junkions are actually huge motorcycles, so the other Transformers can ride them, so that's what they look like together. And then I didn't bother transforming both of them, but here he is with Studio Series 86 Wreck-Gar, just so you can see all of the changes there from the original use of the mold. It's actually faster to say what's the same. The wheels are the same mold. The spikes are the same mold, though he only has two of them. And then this whole back section and then up to the upper legs, even though they're rotated around, they are the same mold as Wreck-Gar there. And then pretty much everything else is pretty significantly different, which is cool to see. And then, the reason I didn't also transform Junkyard to show him off with him is we can bring him on here to actually show him off riding Scrapheap here, and he's gonna, because he was officially called Junkyard for trademark reasons, and he's Scrapheap, so it's always like Scrapheap, Scrapyard, Junkyard, Junkyard. I always get them confused, but he's Junkyard, he's Junkyard, called Junkyard, but we're calling him Junkyard just to keep their names as separate as possible, because that's the original name for the design. But you can get him riding on there, and just like with the other ones, it looks okay. It's it's always going to look a little bit ridiculous to have a Voyager size figure riding a Voyager size motorcycle, just because in real life the mass of a human being is far less than the mass of a motorcycle, especially like a big chunky one like this. So it looks okay, but it looks a little bit like a full-grown adult riding a tricycle or something like that. But it's cool that it even has the functionality to begin with. But in terms of transformation, like I said, he's mostly the same, but he does have a couple different twists here and there. We'll just take the weapon off for now here and put away I almost called them landing gear, put away the kickstands there. Just like with the other versions of this mold, you want to untab the bottom section here. Though, like I said, even though these panels themselves are actually the same mold as Retgar and Junkheap's feet, Junkyard, whatever, that one, the other one, they actually like use this little hollowed out section to tab in this way instead, whereas the other ones were using this slot with a tab on the shoulders. Kind of interesting. Then we can just straighten out the legs here and actually untab them, and then take the wheel out and then rotate them 180 degrees, which is different than the other guys. And then the feet on this guy actually like click into place here. So you want to make sure to undo those. So if you're having a hard time with that lining up, I know that the other guys, you just kind of folded out the feet like that, but with him, they actually do click into place a little bit. So you want to make sure that you undo those. And then we can take the arms and just untab them from the body here so we can split them and take the other wheel out. And then rotate these out to the side. While we're here, we might as well just rotate them forward and get the hands out as well while we're at it. And then, like I said, it's still mostly the same transformation. There's just a few differences here and there. And then you want to take this entire front section and kind of feed the head through. There's not like a ton of clearance, and most of the head, I believe that this red is actually like painted on there, so I'm kind of worried about that scratching off over time, because especially when putting it back into motorcycle mode, you do kind of have to like push it through, and at least this like top crest here definitely rubs against the yellow piece, which is kind of unfortunate, but and then you want to take this section and kind of rotate it up so it sits in like that, and we can take this entire section with the chest, rotate this down so that can sit into place there like that. Take this piece, and there's an extra step here folding in the front end like that. And then we just have to rotate around the arms so we can widen them out to the side to take this piece and rotate it into the body just like the other ones do, and then rotate these forward. Take the chest piece, double hinge it down, and then take these tabs that will actually tab into the lower abdomen section there and lock in like that. Then just bring this up and tab the shoulder pieces into place. Keep the handlebars on the back and there. Oh yeah, right. And then take the little faux handlebars, which were kind of visible in alt mode, but like sticking out as if they were like extensions of this, which is kind of cool, but just rotate them out to the side like that. And there we have Scrapheap in his robot mode. And yeah, he looks great. Obviously, we got to finish off the look here by giving him his wheels. On Junkyard, they were both on the legs. On Retgar, they were one on the leg, one on the arms. You can plug them on either place for him. I tend to keep them both on the arms just to have it be different. But yeah, there's a few different options there. And yeah, he looks really cool. And we'll see when we get into comparisons, he does actually have quite a bit of differences here in this mode as well. Obviously, you can give him his weapon, which he looks good holding. It's nice that he came with a gun, but it really bothers me that this just has nowhere to store. Like, the only 5mm pegs that you can peg this into are on the inside of the legs, and that's not a great place to be storing your firearm, sir. And you could even tab his legs together if you want to give him a G1 mono leg. But yeah, there's nowhere else to store this. And it kind of boggles my mind that they wouldn't just make one of these two pegs a 3mm peg so it could peg onto there like the pinwheel weapon did, and then peg on there in alt mode. I don't understand why they wouldn't just do that so this could store, but I guess they just didn't think it was a problem that it doesn't have anywhere to go. Kind of a bummer. I guess if I really wanted to, I could drill out that hole a little bit just to put it in there, but I don't know. I might be more content with just putting the gun in a box somewhere. But yeah, no, he's got, like you might expect, roughly the same articulation as the other two. The head is on a ball joint, which can rotate around and kind of look up, and it doesn't really get a ton of side-to-side wiggle just because of the shape of it, but can look up a little bit. Shoulders are on universal joints, so it can rotate around like that and then rotate out to the side. The joints on him feel nice and tight, which is good. He's got a bicep swivel, 90 degrees of bend at the elbow there. Wrist swivel, which is nice, and then they can also bend down like that for transformation. It's got a waist swivel. You can kind of use this joint as a little ab crunch too, which is nice. Hips can go forward and back and out to the side. Unfortunately, he does have the same problem that the other two did, but it's actually a little worse on him, where his side to side clicks for his legs, it's either here or here, which is unfortunate, and his are a bit tighter than the other two, so it's a little bit more of a pain to get them to sit in between those clicks, which you definitely can do, but it's a little bit less stable than it is with Wreck-Gar and Junkyard. So it's like, you can do it. Luckily with this mold, like, it looks relatively fine when it's just like, you know, in the stock configuration, but like, that's not great unless he's like doing an action pose. So whatever. But yeah, he's got a thigh swivel, a little under 90 degrees of bend at the knee, and the feet can still tilt forward and back a little bit, and then have that side-to-side angle tilt, which is just like the bottom of the foot. So yeah, you know, still pretty good. Really, the main gripe I have with his articulation is just the you know, the side-to-side hip joints, just making it hard for him to like actually just stand up straight symmetrically and look good, which is a little bit annoying, but whatever. In terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is with side swipe, just so you can see what he looks like with standard size modern deluxe. And then I guess before we bring on the rest of the Junkyons here, I do want to bring Wreck-Gar back in motorcycle mode so we can show what he looks like riding one of the Junkyon molds. And when he's got the wheels on the arm, that does mean, you know, it's a little bit easier to get him to actually ride the other versions of the Junkyon. I find that these really do kind of fall off. Like they don't stay quite as solidly in there as they did on the other two, unfortunately, but whatever. But yeah, you know, notionally they still have the little tab slot connection, which doesn't work super well, but it's more of a guiding tab than an actual like locking point, unfortunately. And then, you know, you just have to finagle it around. Looks about the same as you might expect as what it looked like with Junkyard riding him, which is to say a little bit ridiculous, but it's nice that they can do it. And then obviously we'll get him more properly standing up here and then bring on all of the Junkyons so we can show what the full group looks like together. And once I get him all prepped and ready to go here. First off, here he is again with Wreck-Gar and Scrapheap, just so you can see what the three of them look like together. So you can see really like a lot of differences on this mold compared to what the other two had. Like these two had like the same lower section, the same lower legs and everything like that. Whereas this guy, what's new? All right, his shoulders are new, but all three of them are new. His lower arms are new, but all three of them are new. His hands are new, and I think that they have the same hands. I can't totally tell. Yeah, it looks like it. They all have the same upper thighs. His lower abdomen section is different, whereas these two have the same. His lower legs are different, whereas these two have the same. Obviously, all their heads are different. And then the lower feet for all three of them are the same, and the upper feet for all three of them are different. So yeah, I don't know. Pretty good variety here. I sort of wish now in retrospect that he was a little bit more different compared to Wreck-Gar as well, so that, you know, these two shared a little bit less in common with him, but that's a nitpick. Really, I think that all three of them look really cool together. And then we can bring on the rest of the full Junkyon team here, where we can bring back on, what's his face? Oh, I'm not going to remember all their names. This Scrap Hook, Crash Bar, and Trash Master. There they are. And then we'll also bring on that old Generations one, just so we can see a pretty nice rounded out Junkyon team here. It's nice to have the full crew together there. Obviously, we put the most emphasis on Wreck-Gar, but for this group shot, he's the star. So yeah, no, I'm pretty pleased with this Junkyon collection. I'd be fine if they never gave us another one. Then I like these guys as a team altogether. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to him. He's again just a really nice figure, a really good use of this mold, obviously, just being another Junkyon. I love all the like sculpting and, you know, retooling that they did to this guy in particular to like really make him feel new, especially because this is like the third version of this mold. Like I said, compared to the other ones, I wish that his gun had somewhere to store. I wish that his hips were a little bit less tight so you could, you know, cheat those ratchets a little bit more, or if they just straight up didn't have ratchets there, because why do they? But yeah, other than that, he's just as good as the other two. And it's nice to have a new Junkyon for my collection. I always wanted to get like a third one of these guys just because I felt like having a group of just two of them where they were the same mold felt a little bit weird, whereas having three makes it feel more like a, you know, common Junkyon thing, and that we're just seeing three of them, if that makes any sense, whereas two feels like it's two that are like a pairing, and I didn't want one of them paired with Wreck-Gar. I don't know. Maybe this is just me, but either way, I always wanted to get a third one of this mold as the Junkyons, just so they kind of blended in with the legacy guys a little bit better. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to them. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Studio Series 86 Scrapheap.